Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Slow Flower Show. I'm Deborah Prinzing, and in the spirit of good celebration, we're continuing our interviews with some of the flower farmers featured in the Flower Farmers book, which you all have seen forever and ever, but only out for the last 3 weeks. So, welcome to Jamie Rogers of Killing Frost Farm, featured in the pages of this book. Hi, Jamie.
Hi, Deborah. Thanks for having me. Congrats on the book.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being part of it and saying yes.
Oh, of course.
My gosh.
A
Well,
lot less work for me.
well, just to put you on the map, you're in Helena, Montana. People may know you from social media. You have an account which is not Killing Frost Farm anymore.
Now, yeah, it's changed a bunch, but I've settled on Montana Flower Farmer.
Okay.
So I'm sort of rebuilding my social media life there, but it's Montana Flower Farmer
Oh,
now.
okay. I forgot about that. I was thinking it was Farm to Florist, Montana.
Yeah, honestly, I'm like a pretty serious Luddite with that stuff. And there's not even really a lot of reason for me to have social media because of the nature of my business. It's just because I'm alone so much. So it's sort of fun to do it. But
It's fun to know that there's another world out there that
yeah,
people are
exactly.
alive. Yeah.
Connect with friends and find bands, and it's fun. But I can't figure out how to log into the Farm to Florist Montana account. So it still exists, but I just don't know how to use it.
You are not the only person who has told me that problem, and thank God for the ability to start a new account.
Yeah, totally.
That's crazy. Okay, so you have been on the podcast 2 times in the past. I looked it up. One time was way long ago, early days when we first met, and you had property in, I want to say, Potomac. Yes, outside of Missoula.
Yes.
And then one time I remember we had a podcast kind of spontaneously talking about your business model, which I think you still do some of, which is the farmer to florist direct distribution, right?
Right. I do. I mean, I've really minimized the amount of that I do. I do it really, I really just do it with peonies now.
Okay.
And the only reason for that is I'm a one-man show. A lot of the people who we used to work with decided to stop farming, and it coincided with my growing operation scaling up considerably. And when you're running a big distribution business and farming at the same time, it's just a tremendous amount of extra work.
It's 2 businesses at least, maybe
100%.
3.
Yeah, it's just a ton. So rather than replace the farmers who decided to go in a different direction, I decided to just kind of focus on selling my own stuff. But it's not because I think it's a bad idea or anything.
Well, okay. Well, that's good to clarify. So basically, just to recap for people, I was interested in featuring your model at the time when there were pain points, and you were meeting those pain points by providing a service of getting local flowers to florists not all across the state, but mainly in Western Montana. And so if you were selling your product, but other people's product too.
Yes, I mean it made a ton of sense when we started farming. When I say we, I mean me and my ex-wife Carly, who started the farm with me. A little, I guess, more than 10 years ago now. Carly and this woman Kathy, who Kathy Sherba of Mighty Farm, were trying to service these wholesale customers, and neither one of them in the beginning really had enough product to have a meaningful fresh sheet to send. And I don't know if people know what I mean by fresh sheet, but I mean availability sheet, basically.
Yeah, right. Like what, other than just one bucket here, one bucket there,
Yeah,
they're trying to get volume.
It just isn't a good look when you approach a flower shop and say, I'm going to send you a fresh sheet next week, and it has 2 bunches of ranunculus and a bunch of delphinium, So it quickly became clear that like a rising tide raises all ships ethos would make sense. And it worked great. I mean, we got to the point I hope it's okay if I'll just talk numbers so
I
people.
people will love hearing this. Yeah, and
Yeah.
also, this is pre-COVID or early days of COVID?
So COVID was when it took off.
Okay, okay.
So the idea, and I think we probably really started doing it in 2017, 2016, 2017. And it was going well, but COVID was the year where, the flowers were not coming consistently from South America. A lot of even the farms in California and Washington were having a hard time getting flowers into other states. And it was like the time to prove the strength and efficacy of the local supply chain. And we were really able to do that. It was so cool.
I love
Um,
that.
so, 2020 like really, really was good for building trust with our customers and proving to them. I mean, it was really Mother's Day 2020, very
Mm.
specifically,
Wow, like,
where
right when, COVID hit
yeah,
people and people were freaking out.
well, and it was really, I'll never forget. It was like this thing where, people couldn't get tulips, and we never have grown tulips, and Kathy didn't grow tulips. So I mean, I was buying 200 tulips from this person, 50 tulips from this person, and we really like came together and were able to make Mother's Day work for these flower shops, which was so cool. And that was the year that really like took off. And by the time we stopped, I mean, we were doing, these are all small farms, but we were doing probably between $12,000 and $16,000 a week in wholesale, which for us felt really good.
And servicing a roughly how many client or customers?
The peak was probably 30.
Okay, wow.
There were probably 45 on the list, on the
Mhm.
email list, but probably any given week, 20 to 30 would order.
Well, I have to compliment you because you are, uh, you're constantly reinventing how you do your business because you're tuned into how do your customers wanna buy from you. So you and I have had conversations about, like, some people want me to text them. Some people will never respond to a text. I have to give them a phone call. Some people, probably are still using fax machines for all I know,
Yeah.
and you just were willing. I mean, your profound statement to me that you said once is, we need them more than they need us.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
you just have that, okay, it sucks, but it's the way it is. So how do I, make that work for my business?
100%. I mean, all of our customers, and I work with mostly flower shops. I work with a few event florists, but I predominantly work with flower shops. And first of all, aside from Mother's Day, all their biggest days are when I don't have flowers. So they are actually changing the way they do business. That is not necessarily broken. When I fire up in the spring, like they're the ones who have to go through great pains to order from me.
Mhm.
So if I don't make it as easy for them as possible, it can be, like, why would they keep me around? And yes, like local flowers, fresh cut flowers, flowers that are, handled and conditioned properly. You can't beat them. They are a better product. They have way less shrinkage. They're throwing away. I mean, I think most flower shops. I don't want to get in trouble. I'm not going to say that.
Yeah, but we've heard
There's a lot
anecdotally,
of shrinkage when you get flowers in boxes.
yeah,
It's nobody's fault.
double digit percentages,
Yeah,
for
and
sure.
it's no one's
Yeah,
fault. It's just
yeah.
something that wants to be in water, and it can't be for sometimes over a week. I mean, it's significant.
Mm.
So, but even despite all that, I grow freesia, and it's beautiful, and it's this tall. But the freesia they get, or the stock they get from South America, is freaking 30 inches tall, and like it's a different product. You need to throw some of it
Yeah,
away. Uh,
yeah. But the
so
part you're throwing away is the stem that you're cutting off, so who cares, right?
that's that's true. Yeah, it's probably the wash.
Can I just stop you and ask you about the freesia behind you? I want you to do a
Yeah.
little show and tell. That's
Well, this is
gorgeous.
my vase testing area, so a lot of these have been out here for a while.
That's
So
okay. We'll admire them.
these are all suffering. But yeah, this is freesia. I was really just trying to see how many of these guys will actually open, and I'm so impressed that
Mm,
even the tightest bud that just had the kiss of color on it fully opened.
wow.
I've never
Uh,
grown freesia before, and I almost like don't even want to talk about it.
okay.
No, I mean, I will.
Well, you texted me a
Because
photo last night, and I could not. I had to stare at it for a few minutes to think, is this some weird, like, I don't know, landscaping rose that I've never seen
I
before with
know.
covered in buds? But then I
Right.
did correctly guess freesia.
You did. It was your first guess, and I never guessed it. They are, yeah, I'm like totally obsessed with freesia this year.
Okay, well, since you're willing to talk about it,
Yeah.
how did this happen? Like, is it? It's a corm, right? You buy it. You grow it from a corm.
Yeah, you grow it from a corm. Um, it's tricky. I mean, I planted it in late January, and it started popping 2 weeks ago, probably. I didn't
In
have a meaningful amount for Mother's Day.
Okay, but in under cover. In what kind of
And
structure?
yeah, in crates and in the ground in a greenhouse. I kind of wanted to see
Mhm.
what I would get. And the crates
Hmm.
came up first, unsurprisingly. Um, but yeah, I mean, it took a long. I mean, they did nothing for a long time, and I was really worried about them rotting and what was going to happen. But I'm like, I'm, you know, I hate growing ranunculus. Um,
That's the only thing that I could compare it to, because the
yeah,
timing is a and the
anemone
process.
too, a little bit.
Yeah.
Uh, but ranunculus for me in a greenhouse is tricky. My soil is such, it's very easy for me to rot ranunculus if I even just water once,
Mm, mm.
and then we have the wrong weather, um and then even if you get them to come up nice, are you getting one stem, are you getting four stems, are you going to get a stem and it's going to flop before you cut it, is it going to, I personally, again, because I sell to customers who have, you know I really understand at this point my flower shop customers, what they need to think about in terms of margins. And, I can't be selling them $20 bunches of ranunculus. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. So, that's like kind of, if you if
Yeah.
you math out ranunculus, like that's kind of what they should cost.
Is a
Uh,
ranunculus kind of becoming more like a standard flower crop, and now the freesia is maybe more of the,
no, I don't.
um
I like the freesia. I don't know who's growing freesia.
right, but I mean, that's the thing, it's a new novel,
Yeah.
like, blows people's minds when they see it, I mean, you're just new and you're just getting into
Yeah.
this, so
Yeah. I mean, I think that I'm the first person in the country to grow it. No, I'm kidding.
for sure in Montana.
I just, I just, I just, Erin from Raindrop
Yeah.
had grown it before, and she had a bad experience with it. But she was the only person I knew who had grown it. So it
Hmm.
felt like, and in Montana, I really don't know anyone. It felt like a very novel thing to try. But the reason I did, uh, sorry, I'm kidding about being the first person to grow
I
freesia.
know, but I love it. We could
Um,
we could create a
uh,
little legendary story there.
but this year, I really, really wanted to, because, um, up to last year, I was selling tulips grown by other growers. And that was phasing out, I just didn't have enough time. Part of the issue is that I'm in Helena now, and all the growers I know are in Missoula, so the logistics of it just became untenable. So what was I going to provide to my customers for Mother's Day, and even not for Mother's Day, but just in May?
Yeah.
Because if I'm waiting, you have those flowers that bloom around Mother's Day, and then for me, it's really like, aside from some peonies, it can be like a month before we have a real viable options other than peonies.
Right. That's like a dry
So
spell.
I was just really trying to think of what am I going to grow, and the freesia pop, because I just hate tulips. I really hate everything about tulips. Um, like, I don't want anything to do with them.
Can we make you a t-shirt, please?
Yeah, sure. Like, well, we
He's
didn't need to work.
declaring here. Is it just like the grind of planting in the fall and then keeping an
Uh,
eye on them all winter
yeah,
and
it's that. It's the, like, it's the, you know, one and doneness of it all. It's the fact that I live in Montana, and, you know, the this is my personal opinion, but the difference between a specialty tulip that I would, you know, want to charge $1.50 a stem for, and the standard tulip or whatever that they grow 2 states away in Washington that they can get shipped here for 27 cents a stem, is just like not
Mm,
a meaningful to me. The regular tulip they get from Washington that costs 27 cents is just as special to
yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Um, so it's just really hard for me to ask my customers. It just doesn't feel like the business I want to be in, I guess.
Right. That is such a valid point, and you have to kinda kill the darlings where maybe everyone else thinks it's like the the answer to their cash flow problems in winter.
Yeah.
You instead said, "Well, what can I grow that I'll have between Mother's Day and summer
Yeah.
annuals?"
I just might have to give up Mother's Day, honestly.
Mhm.
And that's a bummer to me. I mean, maybe next year I'll figure out the freesia for Mother's Day. I maybe could get some ranunculus for Mother's Day, but none of my customers are going to order 100 bunches of ranunculus for Mother's Day. You know,
Right,
it's not
right.
that kind of flower. Um, so
Interesting.
yeah,
What about the okay, how does the freezer work? We can move on after this. But I'm, like, now really intrigued because, to me, I think of freesia as, like, a 1980s flower that kind of
yeah,
fell out of favor,
like glads or something.
and calla lilies, like,
Yeah,
things that,
oh,
the brides had in the '80s when my friends were getting married, and I just, they didn't have a lot of, distinct color palette, and, like, I look at the ones you're growing, and I think there must be better breeding now
yeah.
because the ones behind you, I just looks like and then that photo you sent me last night,
Coral
just
one is like
gorgeous.
crazy. Yeah, I don't
So
get
the
it.
one corm, how many stems will it produce? It sounds like it's better than the one and done tulip situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little. I'm still figuring out how to harvest them
Mhm.
because you, to get, you know, you sacrifice to get the best stem length. You ultimately sacrifice number of stems because you're going to cut below a node that would otherwise be a stem.
Mm.
You know, if you like, if stem length didn't matter to my customers, I think I could get like 6 stems per
Hmm.
corm. Um,
Interesting.
I think it'll probably be 2 or maybe 3, but uh, even if I mean it's still, I mean even if it was 1, I know this is kind of like going against what I just said. That it is nice to know though, even if it was a 1, that it would still pencil.
It's the perceived value of a stem
Yeah,
with 6 to 7 buds
yeah,
on it. I think that's why. Like a
yeah,
lisianthus. So I think that's why, people
yeah.
wanna I do grow you don't grow lisianthus, do you?
I do sometimes.
Mm.
I can't. If I have maybe if I have more infrastructure for it in the
Yeah.
future.
Yeah.
The field lisianthus, I find,
No.
and where I am, it's so windy. We do tend to get one really gnarly rain event in August. And I've had lisianthus finally get up to the point where I'm going to harvest it, and something happens, and it's all
Like a hail or
a
rainstorm.
hail or a crazy wind or, you know,
Well, okay, so that's no big deal because you're growing other groovy stuff in the
yeah,
book in the fifth in this
yeah,
the Flower Farmers book, we went deep into one of your signature crops, delphinium,
yeah.
and, so we should maybe pop up some photos on the screen, but, uh, I'm not really that's a late summer crop, right?
It's both.
Okay.
So, the way I grow delphinium more or less, uh, well, okay. So I plant it every year. I
But let's back up for a second. It's a biennial, is
it
it?
it will come up the first. You'll get flowers the first year,
Oh, okay.
and it will lose. It tends to lose vigor, uh, it tends to become not really economical year 3 for
Okay.
me.
So you're staggering your plantings. Like you'll
Yeah,
plant this year, but you'll still harvest some of last year's
yeah.
delphinium.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
So generally speaking, if you plant delphinium in the spring, you'll get some stems off of it late summer, early fall. The next year, you'll probably get some stems. This is for whatever reason in my climate, you'll get stems from a second year plant. You'll get them earlier, like for me, it was like maybe late June. Uh, a third year plant, I'll get them I'll harvest delphinium next week probably.
Wow. Wow.
Uh, and then that will probably be the peak of that planting.
Got it.
If they look really good, I might, give them some compost and let's see if I can let them go another year. Belladonna, for me, seems to be more like 2 years, and then it's kind of loses its enough vigor for it to be worth it for me.
Hmm.
But the thing that's so nifty about delphinium is I grow it. So this delphinium I'm about to harvest, I'll harvest for probably 3 weeks off that bed, and then I'll mow it to the ground.
Wow.
And then I'll harvest it again, probably early September.
That keeps the labor down if all you have to do is mow it. You don't have
It's
to.
awesome. I mean, just weed whack it. It's great.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Should we put up the photos from the
Sure.
chapter? Okay, good. I want, because I know there's some. I want to just give a shout out to your photographers, Chasers of the Light. I told you that they were some of the Robin's most favorite photographers to work with in the book because they just were such. It's a couple, right? Or is it two
Yeah.
people?
Yeah. It's a couple. They've got a real eye.
And they did beautiful photography. Okay, so here's the cover. And by the way, are you ever going to grow hellebores, or is that just like not viable in your region?
I don't know. So we grew hellebores in Potomac. Actually, they were hellebores from bindweed that I dug up from Bindweed Farm in Blackfoot, Idaho.
Wow. Okay.
Toyota Tacoma. They were so heavy in the bed of the Tacoma that the car was like swerving all over. I couldn't drive it. And I pulled over
Wait, were they just like clumps dug up or something?
Oh yeah, they weighed like 70 pounds. I mean, they're huge.
Thank you, Ralph and Jerry-Ann.
Yeah. And Ralph sold them to me for like 50 cents a clump or something. Wow. It was crazy. And I had to pull over at a gas. It was so unsafe. I had to pull over at a gas station, and I laid a tarp over all the seats in the cab of the truck and put the hellebores in the cab, like stacked
to balance out.
Yeah. It was really
I love
fun.
your stories. Okay, so they're still on that old property that you sold, right?
Yeah, and apparently they're looking really good now.
Oh my gosh. Well,
but yeah, I don't have a good hellebore situation here.
Yeah, that's okay. Well, that was the cover from No Big Deal. We're just gonna celebrate all the flowers in the book. This is a photo. Let's just talk about what people are seeing here. Is this your main field at Killing Frost Farm?
We don't have, so we grow. You want me to talk about the layout a little bit?
Yeah, I'd love that. I think people appreciate that.
So there are 5 growing blocks. And a cat just came on my lap.
I see the tail around your face.
And each growing block is about 100 feet wide and 200 feet long. So 2 of them, one of them is all woody perennials like 9-bark and hydrangea and some roses and actually some peonies. Another one is things like monarda and delphinium and yarrow and more peonies. And then the other 2 are kind of half perennials, Echinopsis eryngium and annuals. Lismaki is another one. And then there's only one of those 200 by 100 blocks that is all annuals.
Okay. So you're really trying to go deep into woodies and perennials for longevity.
Yeah. I mean, if I could have a farm that was all, like my dream farm, I think would be to grow all perennials and dahlias.
Yeah.
And freesia now.
Yeah. Well, you're kind of on your way there. So that's great.
So this is one of the blocks that's half and half. that we're looking at here, because you can see sunflowers in the back,
Yeah.
and maybe some dahlias or something.
Yeah. And then that structure is the high tunnel, or is it a
So,
greenhouse?
so there's one prop house. That's where I do all the propagation, and then there's another tunnel that now has freesia and anemone in it.
That's awesome, Jamie.
Yeah,
And that mountain range is so beautiful. What is the valley you live in called?
it's just Helena Valley,
Okay.
and I live on the west side of the valley, and it's really gorgeous.
Mm,
That low Montana golden hour light is
mm.
pretty awesome.
Well, chasers of the light knew how to get it there for you,
Yeah.
right? This is a double spread from the book, but this is a good maybe illustration of what you just described.
Yeah, so that's just one. So there's 5 of those. Yeah.
Jamie, how many acres do you have?
So the total is 13. There's 4 acres behind the deer fence.
Okay.
So I've
You're
done the
you're
math
you're
before.
really concentrating inside that deer fence for production.
Yeah, and the blocks, I've done the math before, but it's like, I mean, it's crazy. It's like an acre and a half or something. I mean, that's a lot for one person,
Right.
but
Right.
you would think that looks so much bigger.
Mm. Wow, that's a gorgeous golden light there too.
Yeah, that's
And
why
you've
Montana has a burgeoning film industry, is because of that light.
Yes, in Helena. And
Yeah,
we're
well, yeah, all over Montana, it's crazy. I mean, I'm probably being a little hyperbolic, but I think that is part of the reason why they want to film here so much. We have tons of TV shows and movies being filmed here, and I think part of it is because of how, beautiful the quality of the light is.
mm, gorgeous. Yeah, I love it. Do your flowers ever make their way into any of these TV or
We
limited
used
series?
I used to sell to a customer in the Bitterroot Valley who used to do all the flowers for the set of the Yellowstone show. But I don't know if they were ever on camera, if it was just for like trailers and that kind of, you know what I mean?
It's your brush with celebrity. I love it.
Yeah, right.
Okay, and then this is another fun, just lifestyle. And then we get to the delphinium page. So, can we talk a little bit about delphinium and why this crop? You talked about how the succession planting goes.
Yeah.
Why is it such a winner with your customers? And talk about a plant that probably doesn't ship well out of water.
Yeah,
I
for
feel like
sure.
that's sweet. That's a sweet spot for you.
For sure. I mean, that is something, honestly, I hadn't even really considered all that much. But the shipping, for sure, it does not ship well. Um, when delphinium is fresh cut, the vase life is really good. Um, it has a fairly large harvest window. Like you can see that picture on the left. It's the left of my screen. The close
Yes.
up on those stems, like that's like even 4/5 of the flowers are open. That's frankly a little late to harvest, but it's
It's good
still.
good for photography though. It shows
Yeah,
all the
but
color.
still viable. My customers would still want it, at that point.
Mhm.
So the harvest window is really forgiving, which is really nice. Um, and I think the biggest thing is that delphinium it can be, if you have, um, Pacific Giants or Guardian or whatever it is, you can have 4 foot tall spikes that are used as line flowers for a wedding aisle. That's
Mhm.
$100,000 wedding in Bozeman, or that same flower a florist could cut down and put in a funeral piece, or in a flower arrangement going to your mom on her
Right.
birthday.
Right.
They're just so versatile. The price point is, I don't need to charge an arm and a leg for uh, them to be profitable for me. So there's a ton of value, like for the
Mhm.
customer who feels like I think they're getting a flower that has a lot of potential to really be a wow factor for their customers, but isn't, like breaking the bank for
Yeah.
them and blowing up their margin.
Right. And
So
it just the color is again in that rare spectrum of blue flowers that it seems
I
like
mean, the blue flower thing is always huge, right?
Mhm.
but then there are also like, I love the lavender delphinium, like a really good bunch of white delphinium is like the pure white delphinium is just one of the most special. There's some belladonna,
Yeah.
white
I
belladonna.
wanted to just click forward to that one. We'll go back to the others, but
Um,
both of these photos are stunning because the white is just got this just kind of creamy white. It's not like a cool white, it's a warm white, and I think that's
yeah,
probably perfect.
it's really special. And then yeah, I mean that kind of classic dark blue with the purple
Oh,
guardian is
it's iridescent.
I mean it's iridescent totally. It like moves in light. It's you kind of, the longer you look at it, the less certain you are of what color you're looking at.
I love that.
It's so cool. Yeah, and they're just, and you know, one of the really important things also is that they are a breeze to harvest. You know, so I'm harvesting something that, first of all, for me is 5 to 8 stems per bunch, which is nice. So
Yes.
fewer cuts, and you know, I mean, I can cut 20 bunches of delphinium in like 8 minutes. You
Jeez.
know,
Yeah.
like
The labor.
it's so nice.
Well, in the book under the when to harvest, we put cut delphinium when 1/4 of the flowers are open.
Yeah.
Also, you cut them really low to the
Yeah,
basal part of the plant, right?
yeah, yeah. You cut them low. You know, I generally, if I can get, you know, my customers can always make stems shorter. They can't make them longer.
Right. Right.
So if I can give them the choice of more stem or less stem, I'll always give them more stem.
And are there little tiny side shootlets like on that photo? I sort of see that. Are
Yeah,
those usable?
the belladonna has a lot of weird, sort of irregular stuff going on. Which sometimes I can't tell if is honestly like a nutrition issue with my soil or it's just a nutrition issue. Um, but yeah, the little side shoots generally aren't long enough uh, to make another stem. But they are, you know, whether a customer chooses to clean those off or
Mhm.
keep them, like they just, it's lots of options, you
Yeah.
know.
I guess you could like maybe bud vase it or, you know,
Yeah, totally, totally. I think that they would. I mean, the belladonna has a much thicker stem wall than, well, it's actually not necessarily thicker, but it's more turgid.
mm,
Uh, and like I guess more, it's a little more fibrous, like
mhm,
almost a little more woody
when you cut it.
when you cut it.
Mhm.
So the side shoots would have a much better chance of surviving in a bud vase than the material that the hybrid stems are made of.
What's this pale blue one, this sort of chambray color on the left, do you know?
That's another belladonna.
Okay. It is a slightly more open form than the,
Yeah, and well, and what's so cool about that is like those are all open, and that I would not hesitate to, you know, harvest that on a Thursday, deliver it on Tuesday to have it go into a wedding the following Friday. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
they, the belladonna, you could really get good vase life with that stuff.
gorgeous, gorgeous. Here you are showing, I guess, doing a little harvest
Strip.
photo.
Yeah.
That is crazy that you can do 8 bunches, or did you say 8 to 10 bunches in
I could
no,
do, I think
20
I could probably
bunches?
20 bunches in like 8 minutes.
Oh my gosh. Well, when you're working by yourself, it's your time is your most valuable asset, right,
Oh, it's,
Jamie?
you gotta be fast. Yeah, you just have to be fast.
Well,
There's no
we
other.
talked briefly about this photo that didn't make it into the book, but you said that you love this whole rubber band,
Those rubber bands are from, actually they're from a company in Florida that was recommended by Aaron from Raindrop.
mhm.
Uh, and they're perfect. You can put 200 of them on your wrist. It's the only way to go exist if you're me.
You're like in the field, rubber bands, clippers,
They're
boom.
so
That's
easy.
it.
But the company they come from is like kind of like a pain in the butt to order from.
Mhm.
And I didn't realize how low I was on rubber bands until I started harvesting this spring. So I went online and I ordered some rubber bands, and I can't put them on my wrist like
Mm,
that.
mm.
And it's like I'm almost it feels like I should just quit farming. It's like it's
Talk
so
about an essential tool that you would sort of not, I mean, obviously, and,
that you would not forget to order them.
well, no, like, I was gonna say, the ones that you got that you kinda hate now might be okay on a wrist of a woman with narrower bones than you,
Yeah.
but for you, you need that, they have to move or else you're
Yeah.
gonna cut off your blood
One, and you have
circulation.
to, yeah, and you have to be able to put, the more you put on there, the tighter they tend to get.
Mhm.
Uh, and those ones, I mean, look how many are on my wrist. I don't have
I
to go back to the rubber band bag for like an hour.
Okay, people are gonna ask me for that source, so will you email it to me and I'll put it in the show notes?
Yeah, but I
Or do
won't
you
tell anyone where I get my freesia.
no, people have to do their own research.
Yeah.
That's totally, I mean, you just come on. I mean, you give so generously of information. I think that there's something new there that you're just mentioning this, Risha, is people are gonna pause and maybe do some research.
Yeah.
So that's good for the industry. Okay,
Yeah.
this is the last shot, and that we included. This was not; these are not in the book, but they're in the
Oh,
gallery. And your sunflower business is a strong companion to delphinium season, right?
sunflower's really big. Yep. And that's my favorite type of sunflower right there.
With the green center.
Yeah, that's the gold light, Pro Cut gold light. And I just think they're so cool. But yeah,
Oh,
sunflowers are a really big deal for me.
and are you selling them all these retail flower shops? They're kind of brick and mortar, Main Street,
Yep.
established in their communities.
Hmm.
I'm sure sunflowers are, I don't know, the harbinger of summer for them.
Sunflowers are huge for them. Lots of standing orders with sunflowers. I also, right now, I'm only selling to one grocery store, but have a really good relationship with them. And that's like 100 bunches a week.
Jeez. Where's that grocery store? In Helena?
In Missoula, it's called the
Um,
Good Food Store. And they've been really wonderful. We've really built an awesome local flower. People starting to go there for the local flowers in the summer, and it's really cool. And the sunflowers are a big part of it.
well, that's bringing up some questions for me relating to the distances you're driving. So you're not doing this sort of distribution model, but
Right.
you're distributing your own flowers
Yeah.
uh, uh 2 hours in every direction, or like, is that
Yeah. So
roughly?
it's roughly it's like so I go to Bozeman. You know, it's funny. I actually I only have a couple customers in Helena, which is the town I'm in. Um,
Oh,
and then
wow.
and then basically the rest of my customers are split fairly evenly between Missoula and Bozeman, and I'm equidistant from them.
So you're
So
one day
about an
one
hour.
day of the week you're going east and one day of the week you're going west, kind of thing?
Exactly. Exactly.
I didn't mean to cut
Um,
you off. Wow.
yeah. So, uh, but that's like it, doing when Farm to Florist Montana was a bigger part of my life and doing the distribution. I would spend like 30 hours a week in the van. And it like really messed me up.
It did a number on you.
Yeah, it really
And
did.
and you were really honest about that in some of your Instagram posts, not like you did a lot, but I saw a few where you just like the way you expressed it was praising the fact that your canine companion was keeping you sane, like,
Yeah, yeah,
because
Poppy, who no longer is with us.
oh,
Um, but yeah, Poppy would go everywhere with me, and she just, I mean, and I think it's funny when Poppy died, it was kind of the end of that part of my life in a
it
funny
kind
way.
of Poppy did you a solid saying, "Okay, time
Yeah,
to
and you don't
stop
have to
this."
anymore. Yeah, for sure.
So now, so 30 hours a week, it was more than 2 days that you were just driving.
Yeah, because we would do Missoula. We had the market in Missoula, so
Mhm.
customers would come to it, and then I would do um, a Flathead, Kalispell, and Big Fork, and Polson, Whitefish.
Wow.
then I would do Helena and Bozeman in one route. So, it was like 15-hour days.
Yeah. So now you're farming. There's several days you don't leave the farm. You're just harvesting.
Yeah, so it's really nice. Now it's just like, when I go to Bozeman, I can leave at 7 and be home by like 1 or 2 and still be able to harvest in the evening or weed or whatever. And then when I go to Missoula, I have a girlfriend in Missoula, and I usually will spend the night in Missoula.
Because that's a little farther.
It's a little farther.
Yeah.
Also, I have so much history in Missoula.
Yeah.
I played in bands, and all of my music friends are in Missoula, and Greta, my girlfriend, lives in Missoula, and there's just a lot of reasons to be in Missoula.
When you're going to Missoula, those are probably your oldest customers, your most established floral customers.
Yes, I mean I think this is year 10 with a bunch of them, which is pretty cool.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And do you have a refrigerated truck, or does that matter?
It has not moved in 2 years.
What? Oh, so you're not using that to do these deliveries?
I mean, if I were to do, there were I probably this summer that might change. So last year there were a couple days. I have a Sprinter van is my other vehicle.
Okay.
And it's big. It's a 16-foot. What is that called? Box. I don't know.
You can fit a lot of product in there. Do you have a racks?
Yeah, shelves and stuff. Yeah. Last year there were, when we were doing the Farm to Florist Montana thing, it was like I have a box truck with a 18-foot box on it, and there were times, and everything was on wheeling racks, and there were times where we could barely fit all the flowers in the box.
Right.
With just my flowers, there are weeks where like I have to put flowers like basically like under my legs and like, between the
I want a picture of you surrounded by flowers in the.
I have some for sure.
Okay, I love it.
Really tight sometimes, but I can generally make it. And the truth is, if I took that full Sprinter van, it would be with the racks. It would still only be like half of the box truck. The refrigeration thing though is huge, and I do need to run that vehicle just because it's so bad for it to not run. So this summer might be an interesting time to see if I want to start using that again.
Yeah, it sounds like it's, especially in, like you were saying, you're inside filming with me because it's over 100 degrees outside.
Yeah.
Today,
well, it's not over 100, but it's in the
close
90s. Yeah.
On the last day of May, so it's only going to get hotter.
I know. I mean, the truth though is, and anyone who's interested in this is just a fact. When you are doing flower deliveries and you take your buckets out of your cooler and they've been in there at least overnight, all that water is 38. For me, it's 38 degrees. So when I used to do before we had the box truck and I used to do those 12-hour days in the middle of summer, it was only at like 3 or 4 o'clock that, ranunculus would start to blow or peonies would start to open all the way. Meaning how cold the water is when you pull it out of the cooler buys you a ton of time without refrigeration.
Right.
And because my like the Arnofskys in Texas who run an amazing farm.
Yeah, I just visited them in April. It was I
don't think they have refrigerated trucks.
Interesting.
And they're in Antonio and it's Texas.
So you have the AC on, so that helps too. Cool water.
Sometimes my AC feels like it makes it hotter in there, but the cold water is I mean, the biggest thing is having a walk-in cooler for sure.
Well, yeah, and Jamie, back to a point you made early on in the interview, like it's the freshest product possible.
Totally.
And then you've done post-harvest correctly, and you've conditioned the flowers. And then if they're in cool water and they've been in the cooler at least 24 hours?
Yeah.
They can handle that that drive.
100%. 100%.
Wow. Well, you've got so much going on, and one of the things that you and Carly both were very honest about in the interview is just like the toll that farming takes on the humans who do it. And I know your intentionality about, again, shaping your business so it serves you, and so you're not, beholden to it all the time is part of trying to find a balance and good
Yeah,
mental health and physical health. And so it sounds like things are getting a little bit better for you.
they are. I mean, I like the last 2 years, I've like really fallen back in love with farming. I don't know what, you know, I think part of it is running a farm with a partner, and Carly was my partner. Um, it's really hard, man. And even when it's good, it's really hard.
Yeah.
And it changes your perspective on the work you're doing. And I feel very lucky that, and I think Carly feels this way too, because she was able to do this in different ways, but to be able to have this reset and this sort of perspective reset. And, I stayed with the farm, and I'm so in touch with this idea now that I wake up and I try to make money by growing stuff in my yard. Like that's really what it feels like, and I feel like a kind of a kid again with it.
You've really distilled it down to sort of the basics, but
Yeah,
it is the true value of farming, which is sustaining your livelihood from your land.
totally.
And that's what
And
you're doing.
it's a ton of work, and I think one thing that's like really cool is I've gotten to the point where I can make enough money in the summer to get through the winter.
Mm,
And it's so hard and bleak in the beginning, because whether you're a beginning farmer or 10 years in or 20 years in, the summer is hard. It's a ton of work. It never is not. Um, the difference, though, is when you're working 16-hour days and you feel insane and it's 100 degrees outside, knowing that it still might not be enough money to get through the winter.
yeah.
That's where
That's
that's just so hard,
that low grade anxiety that never leaves because you're just
Yeah,
got that in
it's
the back of your
really
mind.
hard. And once you get over that hump, there is this freeing thing where I'm kind of like, I think I probably average out to like 40 hours a week
Yeah.
through the whole year,
Yeah.
And that once you're able to have that perspective and trust in kind of that sort of annual cycle
Yeah.
of feasting, working really hard, but then getting to rest, it feels a lot more doable, I think, and I'm grateful to feel like I'm at that point now.
And yet you're still experimenting, like bringing on new crops and evaluating them. So that's all part of the, I guess, I know the art and science of being a flower
Yeah.
farmer.
Well, do you want me to say really quick what went into that? Because actually, it is an
Yes, I do. And then I want to ask you about your music, and then we'll wrap up.
because I would be so curious if other farmers have had this experience. We have a short growing season here, and I realized last year, and it was actually those weeks where I couldn't really fit all the flowers in the Sprinter van comfortably, that I was like, but I had to. And I was realizing the reason that was happening was because I was making like 70% of my income between the last week of July and the first 2 weeks of September. And that's because of zinnia and dahlias and sunflowers and snapdragons and the second round of delphinium, all this stuff. But meaning that like 8 week period, there was so much pressure to
That
produce.
was your nut.
Yes. And how do I, even forgetting about Mother's Day, how do I just spread out that pressure over the course of the summer so that, rather than having to do $10,000 a week, what if I could just do $5,000 a week,
But for more weeks.
but for more weeks?
Yeah.
And that would actually feel quite comfortable. And, I need to get through a full season with this before I know if is working or not. But so far, I have to say, I've never, I harvested for like 4 hours this morning, and I've never have harvested that much in May.
Wow.
And that feels really good.
Wow.
So
Will
I
you harvest after we get off, or will you be done? You'll have other things to do, I'm
I
sure.
turned water on the I think I'm gonna have to just push through and keep planting in the heat.
Thank you for breaking away.
Well, we are talking during the worst part of the day, so
Okay.
this is great.
Okay. The other thing that you have returned more energy to is your music, and I'd love to hear more about that. And
Yeah.
you're going to share some music that we can go out on the episode with.
Yeah, that's so fun.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, I play drums. I've played drums, since I was like 10, and I I don't I like I mean, I love music. I love playing music, but what I really love is being in bands. I love being in bands so
Just
much.
that vibe of friendship and
Just that type
collegiality.
of friendship, the camaraderie, the collaboration, being creative with people, but even just the dumb stuff like, booking shows together and making creative decisions together. And it's just such a fun way to interact with people. And actually, the last 2 years, I play in a bunch of bands, but the last 2 years, this band called Lay Duck, that's from Missoula.
LE.
LES space duck.
Okay. Lay Duck. All
They're
right.
on Instagram
All
at
right.
Lay Duck, I think.
We'll look you up.
I think that's what it is. We recorded. We turned the last April. Was it? Yeah, I think it was April. We turned my barn where my cooler is and stuff into a studio. And we put the drum set. I'll send you pictures if you want.
I'd love to see them. Yeah.
The drum set went in the walk-in cooler. Because it's good isolation, and then the rest of the guys are in like the main room of the barn. And I think it's because of the high ceilings and the fact that that barn is insulated with spray foam that we recorded it live, meaning we didn't do tracks. We didn't
Right.
have one person recorded at a time. We all did it together at the same time. And that the acoustics in the room, because of the spray foam, I think, is like so good.
Oh, I love it.
It's so funny. It sounds so good. And we had so much fun. We did it again. We recorded a second album a couple weeks ago in the same space. But anyway, the first one is coming out at the end of August. And
Is this your first album with Lay Duck? Or
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it all original music, Jamie?
Yeah.
And do you do any vocals or songwriting, or are you the spirit of the band?
This band is really fun. I think I'm like the grumpy. They're all a little younger than me, except for the pedal steel player, who's a little older than me. I think generally they're like all really nice, positive people.
I love it.
I think I'm kind of the grumpy uncle of the band.
I doubt it.
But there are two guys Sandy and Lucas, the two singers, and they each will come with song ideas, and then we all kind of will work on them together.
And then you'll do the musical parts together.
Yeah.
Oh, good. I wanted to have everyone meet your constant companion here.
Yeah. This is Rally. Rally had a tough start to life. She was born at my neighbor's house, and her mom died, and Rally was not looking so good, but I found her underneath the car. My neighbors don't live there. They just keep their sheep there.
Oh, wow.
And they let me take her.
So she was kind of the outcast of the litter?
She got rejected by her mom, which happens.
Wow.
Yeah, and she wasn't doing so good, but then her mom ended up dying, unfortunately.
Oh dear. What kind of sheep is she?
She's a hair sheep. So I have a herd of American blackbelly sheep. She's some kind of a hair sheep. I don't know if she's a Katahdin cross or something, but she won't have wool. That's why she looks like a goat.
In fact, when I said what kind of sheep she is, I thought, oh shoot, I'm going to be really embarrassed if I said the wrong type of animal.
You want to know how you tell the difference?
Yes, I do.
Goat. So, come here, baby. So you see Rally's tail?
Yeah.
How it points down?
Yeah.
Goat tails point up. Sheep tails
Okay.
point down. So if
Okay.
you can see their butt, it's
Yeah.
probably
Yeah. How old is she?
she's she is gonna be a month. She's like 3.5 weeks old.
What?
Yeah.
She's so attached to you.
Yeah.
You're her human.
We're buddies.
And do you have to feed her with a bottle and everything?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So she'll go. I'm actually gonna get some baby goats. It's gonna be hard for her to get introduced to the herd by herself. So I made the decision that I think we're gonna have a separate pack of goats and Rally.
The youngsters. Oh, Rally's going to be with the goats.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I mean, really, Rally could have her own Instagram feed, and you could.
She's really cute.
How do your dogs feel? Are they a little jealous?
Nori, who is the puppy, who's now a big
in the
dog,
photo?
Nori loves her.
Okay.
And Rally follows her around if I'm not there. And Sushi, my other dog, loves her too, but Sushi is crazy and is a little less predictable with how he shows his love.
I know, but I mean, it's like flora and fauna over there at Killing Frost Farm now. I love it.
Yeah,
It's so great.
That's for sure.
And then your music, I'm so happy we're gonna play a little. I don't know what we're gonna play.
Whatever you want. Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever.
Well, no, you should tell me your favorite song.
The song is going to be called. I think the song is called "Head Fell Off."
Okay.
And it was written. The lyrics and sort of main body was written by this guy named Lucas Fellon, who's a artist and musician in Missoula. Who's a great guy. And it's just a silly. This band is really light and fun, and it doesn't take itself too seriously. It's nice.
That's a good way to live your life, and
that
is your off time, non-farming expression of who you are.
Is great, no doubt.
Jamie, I could sit here on this Zoomish platform and talk to you forever. You're so generous.
Yeah, likewise.
So generous, Jamie. I love that.
Nice chatting with you.
All right. Anything else you want to mention before we wrap up?
No, congrats on the book, Deborah. I can't imagine how much work it was. Does it feel good?
It feels good.
Yeah.
It feels good. And I feel like I want to, when you're a kid and you're like, my birthday's going to last the whole month.
Yeah,
and you're going to exploit everybody's attention. I feel like we want to turn the book launch into a year, because my goal is to get to every farm to do an event with everybody in the book. So
it might take a year.
It might. Yeah. So you're on my list. I don't know when I'm going to get to Montana, but I'm coming.
Oh, you mean actually visit?
Yeah. Physically visit and do a party or something.
I've got a Airstream trailer that you can stay in.
Oh my gosh. Wouldn't that be fun? I would love that.
Do it.
And, my brother and his wife are in Billings, which is quite a ways away, but
Well, closer to Helena than Missoula.
That's true. That's true. I need to talk to them about that. In the meantime, thank you for sharing more and an update. But people really need to buy the book so they can read the whole story and follow Montana Flower Farmer on Instagram, and then we'll get LaDuck up there too. And Jamie, thank you for everything. I'm so glad you're my friend, and I always learn so much. You're so generous with sharing your knowledge, and it's a mind meld, and I hope everybody enjoyed this as much as I did. So thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. I appreciate you. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
When my head falls off, my head falls off, what will they say about me? What a fool they will will say, though he was nice, he liked to take his coffee with Cinnamon Timothy Chalamet playing me in the movie. And I know what you're thinking, too small, but did you subtract the top 9? It can be so hard keeping all those separate parts in mind. That's why my head fell off. This is a song. When my head fell off, 10,000 pieces filled the air, effervescent and glistening colors erupting everywhere. Falling like snow make the green things grow. I don't even know what was lost. Maybe the joy of reading, clandestine meeting in the moonlight. I just keep repeating the same line that made my head fall off.